What? I said, what is happening, baby? Welcome back. Everybody huddle up. Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by the Huddle Chat Sports. I'm your host, as always, Dallas Clark, also known as Indo as my Nindo. And I got a real quick video for you today. If you haven't been paying attention to the videos that we've been releasing, make sure you go ahead and hit that notifications bell. I've got a ton of content coming out. I'm coming out with daily fantasy football advice, tips and tricks, and help to get you to that money at the end of the year in your fantasy football league. But you got to hit that notifications bell so that way you can get alerted as soon as I drop a video, and so that you can get that advantage, that step up on those chumps in your league, so that way we can all walk home together with the trophy hand in hand, and we can skip to the happiness together. Anyway, like I said, welcome back. We're going to be doing a quick video today. Today's going to be my quarterback special. I'm going to be breaking down my top quarterbacks in your draft, kind of breaking down the different tiers of quarterbacks, and I'm going to give you my insight on who I think is going to be the #1 fantasy football quarterback of the year this year. And if you've missed any of my previous episodes, we've got some pre-draft strategies, we've got some draft prep, we've got some how to dominate your draft, some actual draft episodes. Then we've also got my top 24 rankings in overall in the PPR in your fantasy football draft, which would be your first 2 rounds. And then I've also got a running back and a wide receiver special coming out with a tight end special later on today. So we've got a smorgasbord of information coming out for you guys for the next couple of days. And then we're getting kicked off into the regular season. We're doing the countdown to that Thursday night football Cowboys-Buccaneers game that we are all so excited for. We're like 8 days away at this point. And I could cry. Football's back, baby. And I'm so excited. There's a lot of information for us to cover. So before we get cracked off, like always, no peer pressure. But if you do smoke them, now's the time that I invite you to smoke them if you got them. So let's get this episode started off, baby, and let's get right into the news. Now, to get this thing started off correctly, we always got to alert you, and I got to give you my precaution about quarterbacks. Now, quarterback is the highest scoring position in fantasy football, and it's easy to get caught up in quarterbacks, get caught up in knowing that, the MVP of the league every year is going to be pretty much guaranteed a quarterback. The quarterback's always going to get the praise for leading his team to the Super Bowl. The best quarterbacks in the league, people argue, be the best football players. The quarterback gets gassed up. The quarterback's oftentimes the best player on the team, and he may even be the best player on your fantasy football team. However, when it comes to quarterback, we always want to search for the value at quarterbacks. It's easy to say in the first round, I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes. I should be able to win a league with Patrick Mahomes, but that's not the case. There are more valuable picks in the first round than Patrick Mahomes in one of the first 10 to 12 picks. If you're going Patrick Mahomes in one of the first 10 to 12 picks, I don't know what you're doing, to be honest with you. There's like I said, there's so much more valuable picks. And the thing with quarterback is the problem with running back. The reason running back is most valuable is because the drop-off after that elite tier of running back going to that mid-tier running back is significant. Then that drop-off from mid-tier running back to those running back twos and those flex option running backs is insane. Running back, the point value decreases one by one every quarterback or every running back. Wide receiver is a little bit different in the fact that wide receiver, there's a little bit less of a drop-off, about half as much of a drop-off as it is from wide receivers to running backs, just because there's more wide receivers in the game. Wide receivers take less attrition, so wide receivers can one 60-yard touchdown pass, a wide receiver put up 12 points. So like a wide receiver doesn't need to do as much to put up as many points as a running back. However, with quarterback, you're looking at Patrick Mahomes and the average 27.2 points per game that Patrick Mahomes is going to give you, that he gave you last season, compared to that 24.6 points that quarterback number 12 on my rankings, Baker Mayfield, put up last season. You're not losing very many points from the #1 quarterback to the number 12 quarterback. You can win your league with Daniel Jones. You can win your league with Tua Tagovailoa. You can win your league with Joe Burrow. You don't need Patrick Mahomes to win your league. But can you win your league with DeAndre Swift at your #1 running back, and then we're looking at, Myles Gaskin in your flex? Maybe. It's a lot less likely. So you don't want to jump on those quarterbacks too early. So you want to be hesitant. Go for that value at quarterback. Now, Patrick Mahomes in the second or third round, if he falls that late, absolutely, that's a great value. It's a little too rich for my blood personally. I like going down, and when we're looking at Patrick Mahomes, like we've all talked about it, he's the hands down number one quarterback right now. Recently, to enter up that elite quarterback ranking this year is going to be Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. Those insane years that they had last year, the additions of the weapons that both of them acquired last year, Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, two of the biggest wide receivers in the game right now. If you haven't watched my wide receiver special, check that out. We talk a lot about both of those players. But both Kyler Murray and Josh Allen had breakout years last year. They both get a lot done with their legs as well. So they're going to be entering that elite tier of quarterback, as you see here. I've also got Russell Wilson, has been an elite quarterback. And this might surprise some people seeing that number 4 pick, Dak Prescott. DAKOTA himself, I'm huge on Dak Prescott. I'm an insane Dak Prescott fan this season. I can't speak enough about Dak Prescott. I thought he had a big year coming last year before his unfortunate injury, but I think Dak Prescott is definitely an elite quarterback. Now, what makes an elite quarterback in fantasy football? Because you see I don't have Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady's, the GOATs up there. So what makes an elite fantasy football quarterback? I'll tell you right now, if you look back at last season and you look at what I'm getting ready to tell you, this is a trend that you can follow over the past few years. 8 of the top 10 quarterbacks last season in 2020 in fantasy football had over 200 yards rushing. The only 2 that did not have the 200 yards rushing were Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Now, of those 8, 7 of those players had at least 15% of their points come with rushing yards. Those quarterbacks had at least 15% of their fantasy points come with the legs. So a elite fantasy football quarterback oftentimes is not only good with his arm, can throw that 300 plus yards a game, can throw that 3 plus touchdowns a game, but can also get a couple goal line touchdowns, because in most cases a quarterback, they don't get the same amount of points for throwing a touchdown as they do for running. So you get those extra points for running touchdowns. You get the rushing yards when they carry the football. So when you're getting a quarterback that's gaining 15% of his fantasy points with his feet, even Daniel Jones gains a little bit of yardage with his feet, which increases his fantasy value. So when you're looking at a fantasy football quarterback, you really want to find somebody that can also offer you something with his legwork as well. And all 5 of these elite quarterbacks that I have up here, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and then even Russell Wilson, are all going to be offering you a lot of work on their feet. Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson a little bit more. And that's going to be what lowers Lamar Jackson for me out of the elite quarterback. These 5 quarterbacks can get it done with their arms as well as their legs at the same time. Now, right outside of that elite quarterback tier, I've got the next best level of quarterbacks, the ones that you can argue should be up here for me. And I've got 3 of them for you. I've got Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert!
From the Los Angeles Chargers. He had a breakout year last year, and I think he's only going to get better with the targets and stuff that they have in Los Angeles, gaining that NFL knowledge. I think Justin Herbert's going to be a special quarterback for the next few years. He's not going to be on that Patrick Mahomes level, but I do think that Justin Herbert is going to be a extremely dominant quarterback in the NFL for the next decade or so. Right after Justin Herbert, I've got Lamar Jackson, who was the consensus number 2 pick behind Patrick Mahomes at quarterback last season. My problem with Lamar Jackson is he gets a lot done with his feet, but when it comes to the arm, he's an average quarterback. He doesn't give me much more confidence than a Daniel Jones or somebody at quarterback with his arms. What he does give you is that extreme amount of production with his legs. He is damn near their running back. He is damn near their best rushing attack. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about the number 1 running back in Baltimore is out for the season. And I've been confused because when I look up on fantasy football, Lamar Jackson's still healthy and still projected to play week 1, so I don't know what they're talking about. Boys and girls, if you don't know that, I am joking. Gus Edwards is out for the season. Or not Gus Edwards. J.K. Dobbins is out for the season, so make sure you look out there at Gus Edwards. He's going to be a new value pick for you. We are going to be talking a little bit more about that here a little bit later. But anyway, going off Lamar Jackson, I've got Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, he was the MVP. Aaron Rodgers is that quarterback that just having Aaron Rodgers on your team, he gives you a great chance to win. Aaron Rodgers is a talented quarterback, and the fact that he has the number 1 wide receiver in the league as well, and has always been able to get it done no matter whether he's throwing it to a great wide receiver core or a wide receiver core made of Valdez-Scantling and St. Brown and Adam Lazard and a bunch of scrubs. So Aaron Rodgers can get it done no matter what his surrounding cast is. I'm just not big on Aaron Rodgers. I think he's not going to give you much explosion. He's not going to disappoint you too often, but he's not going to give you many of those extreme 30-plus point games. At least from what I'm looking at in my personal opinion, I think Aaron Rodgers is kind of just going to float down there. He's going to be Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback, but I see a lot of regression coming for Aaron Rodgers, and I don't see him having an MVP caliber season this year. Now, after Aaron Rodgers, you kind of get into those quarterbacks that you're kind of, up in the air on. So after Aaron Rodgers, I'll give you guys a couple of my notable quarterbacks outside of those top 10 quarterbacks. You're looking at Baker Mayfield at 12. I think Baker Mayfield, his value, he's being extremely undervalued. He's going in the 14th, 15th, 16th round in most cases. So getting Baker Mayfield as a backup quarterback right now with the weapons that he has, the offense that Cleveland Brown has, Baker Mayfield would have to seriously try to not be a decent fantasy football quarterback. He's got an extremely high floor. He's not going to disappoint you very often. He is definitely one of those quarterbacks that through bye weeks, through injuries, through waiting for your other quarterback to come into a starting role or whatever you're doing, Baker Mayfield is definitely a good stopgap quarterback. Maybe not somebody that I would be comfortable going with for the entire season without at least having a backup option for bad matchups or whatever, but I would be really comfortable having Baker Mayfield as my backup quarterback. Another backup quarterback option for you guys to go out there and grab is going to be Tua Tagovailoa, number 13 for Miami. I mean, the amount of targets and what he's added in this last draft, I think that Miami Dolphins team is going to surprise a lot of people. They're going to be a really explosive offense this year. Added some offensive line help. They added some more targets. I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to have another great breakout year, and he's going to enter that top 10 quarterback stance as well. Now, I would also like to point out one more quarterback for you guys, and that is going to be Kirk Cousins from the Minnesota Vikings. Me personally, I would stay away from Kirk Cousins from the Minnesota Vikings unless you really need that backup quarterback. I think Kirk Cousins is a quarterback that will give you decent production, but not somebody that you can rely on. Thankfully, Kirk Cousins has Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. He has a good wide receiver core. His number 1 tight end just went out for the season. I just heard that. Unfortunately, I was really big on Irv Smith Jr., so we're going to see what they're going to do at tight end in Minnesota, but Kirk Cousins has been disappointing, and I don't like that anymore. He used to come in the tunnel screaming, "You like that?" No, Kirk, I don't. I hate it. So stay away from Kirk Cousins. That's a quarterback right there that I personally would not even put on my board. I'd leave him undrafted. If somebody drafts Kirk Cousins in your fantasy league, I can almost guarantee you that they're a Minnesota Vikings fan. Or they drafted Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen, and they wanted to kind of have that combination. But I wouldn't take it. Now, you do also want to pay attention to there's a couple things you want to pay attention to. 2 quarterbacks, Trey Lance and Justin Fields. Those are 2 late-round flyers. People you may want to add to your watch list. Those quarterbacks, at some point in the season, I said I guaranteed you guys in my last episode that I think by week 6 that Justin Fields will be the starter of the Chicago Bears. If you haven't heard me in one of my first couple episodes, I talked about Trey Lance has been outperforming Jimmy Garoppolo throughout the entire camp, every practice. So Trey Lance is also working his way up to being the starter. I would be surprised if week 3 comes and we haven't seen Trey Lance starting a football game for the San Francisco 49ers. So both of those quarterbacks, with the targets that Trey Lance has himself, I would go Trey Lance over Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields more. He's got that story. I've been following Justin Fields for a while, but the weapons that Trey Lance has, that San Francisco 49ers team was just injury-riddled last season, but they are still a Super Bowl caliber roster with the wide receivers that they have, with the running back room that they have, the tight ends that they have. That San Francisco 49ers team has an explosive offense and a damn good defense, and Trey Lance may be the quarterback that got into the best position in the NFL draft this season. Out of all of the quarterbacks that we've been talking about, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, I think Trey Lance may end up being the best quarterback in this year's draft class for now, just due to the fact of the weapons that he's got. Now, a couple, 2-3 years from now, we might be telling a different story. But I think Trey Lance, he might fuck around and be something special just because he got the best situation out of, I think, every quarterback in the NFL draft this season. Now, I promised you guys I was going to let you guys know who I think is going to be the number 1 fantasy football quarterback this year. I don't think it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. I don't think it's going to be Lamar. I don't think it's going to be Kyler. My brother, He's one of my biggest confidants when it comes to fantasy football. He thinks Kyler Murray is going to be the number 1 quarterback this year. I do think Kyler Murray is going to be a top 3 quarterback without a doubt this year. Top 2 maybe. But I have 2 quarterbacks that I think that are going to be just a little bit higher than Kyler Murray. Number 2 for me is going to be Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen, he's been just getting better and better. That Bills team has been getting better and better, and they're one of the most feared teams in the AFC. I actually have the Buffalo Bills in my preseason rankings as my Super Bowl favorites to represent the AFC. So I think the Buffalo Bills are going to be a great team this year, led by Josh Allen. He gets a lot of production done on his feet, but there's one quarterback that I think that's going to be a little bit better than Josh Allen this season. Buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen. This one might blow your socks off. It might not, though. You might already have seen this coming. DAKOTA PRESCOTT from the Dallas Cowboys is going to be the best quarterback in fantasy football this season. You look at his surrounding cast. They've got a top 5 offensive line. They've got some damn good wide receivers. Amari Cooper, who he's got some really good history with. Michael Gallup, he's got previous history with, who's a really good slot wide receiver, a number 3 option for them. And then you got CeeDee Lamb, who I think is going to be a really good year. He's going to have a breakout year. There's a reason that CeeDee Lamb's wearing number 88. Plus, they got Zeke in the backfield, so teams also have to stay honest, and they can't ball out on the pass. So I think Dak Prescott, coming off his injury, with something to prove. With all those weapons, with that great offensive line, with that decent defense, I think DAKOTA PRESCOTT has got something to prove. He's got great weapons. He's got great protection. And his best friend, Ezekiel Elliott, is running the football behind him. Y'all watch out for DAKOTA PRESCOTT this year. Number 4, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the best fantasy football quarterback across the board. Now, that's going to be it for my quarterback special here today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like I said, if you like the content, smash that like button. Hit that notifications bell so you can stay alerted whenever I come out with new episodes. I've got a tight end special coming out. I've got some early waiver wire gems coming out. I've got some early trade targets coming out, some start 'em and sit-'ems coming out for the first week, as well as go back and check out any of my pre-draft strategies if you still got a draft coming up, and some of my top rankings for running back and wide receiver. Like I said, boys and girls, thank you so much. We're coming out with daily videos at this point, and they're being received so well. I cannot thank you all enough for the support. I love y'all, man. Thank you so much for being here. As always, it's your host, Dallas Clark, better yet known as Indo as my Nindo. You can hit me up on Twitter at Indo as my Nindo, but hit me up on Twitter with the Huddle Chat Sports Show at the Huddle Chat. Ask me any questions, send me your lineup advice, and we'll talk about your stuff here on the show. Like I said, we're doing daily episodes. So if you tag me in something tonight, there's a good chance tomorrow or the next day you will see the answer to your question on my show. So drop it in the comments, post it on my Twitter, follow me on Facebook at the Huddle Chat. We're here to hold hands together and skip to championships and beat those chumps in your league. And you guys are already doing it right by sitting here with me at the Fantasy Football Huddle. But thank you so much for checking out my quarterback special here today on the Fantasy Football Huddle presented by the Huddle Chat Sports. It was a pleasure as always. I'm Dallas, also known as Indo, and I am so far gone. Oh, you thought I was going to end it without saying, I hope your plants never stop growing and the news never stop showing. I'm all the way out of here, baby. Peace out. Thank you.